Hi, welcome to Reddit Tea Time. I decided to get into an online relationship with a man I knew from college about a year ago. In the past 4 months, we've begun to hang out in person. Shortly after hanging out, he pressured me to move in with him to no avail. He lives in a rural, isolated area 2 hours away from me. I continued to see him but explained that I will not move in. He said he will not continue to be with me if I don't move in with him, which I was upset about but have accepted as I'm seeing several red flags. Before this, he would always say, "I'm gonna put a baby in you" during sex, and I always just laughed it off. He also once made a joke that he's been finishing in me a little every time, which I laughed off. He knows I'm not on birth control. Recently, after I decided to tell him I won't be moving in, he called me frantically asking if I was pregnant and saying he hopes I am. He was upset when I told him no. Do you think his plan was to baby trap me so I'd have no choice but to move in with him? Now for some comments. The whole thing is creepy and you shouldn't be around this guy. That being said, you're concerned about him baby trapping you, yet you're having unprotected sex with him? If you were really worried about that, telling him to wear a condom would have been the first step. Considering he's finishing in you a little means he's not wearing a condom, and then he's making comments like putting a baby in you while you claim he knows you're not on birth control. Of course he's going to think you're pregnant and be obsessed with it. You're not doing anything to stop a possible pregnancy. If you're having sex without using birth control, you should be worried that you're also trying to baby trap yourself. I don't understand how you've been having sex without birth control when you're not intending pregnancy. What is that about? Girl, you are too damn old to be having unprotected sex while not on birth control. Drop this weirdo and go learn about contraceptives. I, 24 female, have wanted a dog my whole life and had recently gotten my own apartment and a steady income, so I started considering adopting a dog. I sent my boyfriend, 23 male, some photos of dogs at shelters, but didn't make it clear that I was genuinely considering adopting a dog. He has told me in the past to not get a dog, but never gave me any reasons why I shouldn't. Around the beginning of November of last year, we had been together for 2 years, but were going through a rough patch. We weren't really hanging out or speaking much aside from fighting, and I knew that if he wasn't going to break up with me, I needed to break up with him. This is when I decided to adopt a 3-month-old puppy. I knew a dog would help me get through the breakup I was about to go through, on top of all the other reasons I had for wanting to adopt. My boyfriend and I did end up breaking up for the week after I got my dog. He broke up with me with the reason being that he felt he couldn't be the boyfriend I deserved. The issue comes into play a few weeks later when my boyfriend and I decide to get back together and give things another try. At this time, he mentioned the dog would be an issue, but we decided to see if we could make the relationship work first without the dog factored in. It has been well over 6 months since we got back together now, and my boyfriend has made zero attempt to bond with the dog. He's actually so stubborn about it that he has genuinely never pet or held my dog, even when my dog was just a 3-month-old puppy. He stopped coming over to my apartment, which at the time was literally in the building next door to him, and even when he would just beeline for the bedroom, where my dog can't get to, as opposed to hanging out in the common living spaces. Recently, we had a conversation about the dog and what this means for our relationship, and we're at a bit of an impasse. He thinks I should have consulted him about the dog, as it is a 10 to 15-year commitment, and that it was disrespectful to him and our future. My logic is that I knew a breakup was coming, so there was no future to consider there, as I didn't anticipate us getting back together. He has said repeatedly that he will never live with this dog, so essentially we can't move in together unless either A, he changes his mind, or B, I rehome the dog. Both of us feel we're right in this situation, so any input would be appreciated. Now for some comments. You two just aren't compatible. You can see it a mile away. Not the bonehead. Why would you consult someone who you're breaking up with on getting a dog? He got back together with you knowing full well you had a dog, and he did so intending to make you get rid of the dog. He bided his time and now he's gotten to that stage. Don't let him manipulate you into getting rid of the dog. The dog will be far more loyal than your boyfriend. First, it makes zero sense that you would have consulted him on getting the puppy when you were breaking up. Second, he got back together with you knowing that you have a dog. Third, he's using this ultimatum as a test of some sorts and as a means of control. You should fail this test. Keep the dog, lose the guy, not the bonehead. Find a new guy who loves dogs and isn't controlling. My husband and I have been together for almost 20 years, married for 10 of those years. We met when I was 17 and he was 21. We're now 35 me female and 40 male. We have no children and own a house together. Over the weekend, my husband went out of town to visit his grandparents. I know he was there because I talked to his parents when he went out for lunch and he called me. When he came home last night, he pulled up his phone to show me pictures of his car. What he failed to realize is that he had a full-body nude picture of himself from the hotel mirror with his penis erect. I let him show me the picture of his car and then I casually said, "So, who were you sending nudes to?" He silently closed his phone and put it down. I asked him again and again, "What was that on your phone? And you effed up, didn't you?" He played coy at first, then he picked his phone back up and turned it back on, still not saying a word, and pulled up the picture. Finally, after the 5th time asking, he said, "I sent it to someone I met online." I don't know if this is the first time he's done it. I have a feeling it isn't, as why would you, out of nowhere while out of town, decide to send a random nude? I asked him who he's sleeping with and he said no one, it's just a picture. But how am I supposed to trust his word? For the last year and a half at least, he's been hiding a drug addiction from me and this feels like the nail in the coffin. I mentioned to him last night that I know about his drug use and I showed him the proof I had. I asked him to leave last night and he can come back today so we can discuss, but I just don't know what to do. When I think about him, he's not the man I met many years ago, nor the man I married. What would you do in this situation? I know I should leave him, but I can't help feeling guilty that maybe I caused this to happen. And if I leave, it'll only get worse with him. I wanted to address a few questions people have had. DOC is cocaine and alcohol. The reason he can afford it is because he makes very good money. $100K plus a year. We don't have a mortgage and we keep our finances completely separate, having a joint account for bills only. The other reason is because a good friend of his happens to have easy access to cocaine. Now for some comments. This is still cheating in my opinion, and he's doing drugs behind your back. Both of those things would make me end it immediately. I told another person this last week. The man you divorce is not the man you married. Those words have never been truer than now. He needs help, but you don't need this. Wishing you luck. OP replied, "Wow, that is a really accurate quote. Thank you." There's a good chance he's lying about the extent of that online relationship. People who cheat never confess to everything the first time they get caught. Something to consider. My dear, unless you've traumatized him to death with toxic behavior and abuse of your own, you have not contributed to this. Taking the blame for his actions will cause you so much insecurity in future relationships. You can shoulder some of the blame for the breakdown of the marriage if you like. All marriages suffer at one point or another, and almost always because two people forget how to be present and love one another. Some marriages bounce back, others run their course and should end. Each party needs to realize their own contribution in order to be better partners to someone else. But it is absolutely 100% his choice to abuse drugs and start up an online relationship with another person. If he's unhappy in the marriage but hasn't asked you to specifically improve it with him, then that's on him too. It'll be his choice as well if things go worse with him after you leave. You get to decide what constitutes an affair. You get to decide if you want to be married to a person who no longer resembles the one you fell in love with. Excuse the formatting, I'm on mobile. So my boyfriend and I have only been dating for 2 months. He's honestly wonderful. He cares about me. He's kind, respectful, sweet, funny, and my biggest supporter. He's the best boyfriend I ever had. However, he has a problem with how I dress. This is the only issue we've had so far. I don't even dress inappropriately in my opinion. I never wear short pants or a skirt even though it gets really hot during the summer where we live. Yesterday, it was a particularly hot and sunny day and my boyfriend and I met up for some coffee. I was wearing black long linen pants and a black strap top. My belly and back were covered, but it was showing a lot of cleavage, which wasn't my intention, but oh well. I have relatively big breasts, so I get why a low-cut top could be seen as problematic. We went to the mall first, so we got into the elevator with 2 other men. Then all of a sudden, he was standing really close in front of me looking really pissed, but he wouldn't say anything. After we got out of there, he commented how those men were absolutely staring me down, but I didn't notice that at all. I laughed about it and we changed the subject. He brought up his concerns in a respectful way the next day, saying that apparently, almost every guy we crossed paths with on our date was staring at my breasts and he asked me not to wear revealing clothes anymore. I honestly didn't notice anyone staring at me at all. I was thinking maybe he's just imagining everyone staring at me, but I don't want to come across like I'm trying to gaslight him. I know him trying to control what I wear is not okay, and I stood my ground and told him I was not going to apologize for wearing a strap top in summer. He didn't take it well. It kind of escalated into an argument. He keeps telling me I need to compromise on this, but I really don't want to. I told him he should find a girlfriend that already dresses the way he likes instead of forcing me into that. I just can't help but feel like our relationship is way too fresh for me to be wasting all my energy trying to explain to him why I won't want to wear long shirts on a hot summer day. I'm really wondering if I'm being unnecessarily stubborn here or if he's being controlling. Should I break up with him over this since the relationship is still fresh, or should I try to work it out? Now for some comments. I read the first sentence and saw forbids. Sorry, that's enough for me. Do not be ordered to do anything by your significant other. OP replied, you're right. You wrote, I just can't help but feel like our relationship is way too fresh for me to be wasting all my energy trying to explain to him why I won't wear long shirts on a hot summer day. What you feel is 100% correct. Behavior like this usually escalates. After only 2 months, I'd be concerned about what might happen in the next 2. I can't tell you what to do, but I wouldn't want to stick around to find out. It's not only showing his insecurities and jealousy, but it's showing he wants to control you if he notices something he doesn't approve of. I'd probably leave it. It's fresh enough to jump out of guilt-free. OP replied, I was also thinking he's being insecure and I talked to him about it, but he denies it. Maybe it's also a cultural thing. Initially, I didn't want to include this in the post because I didn't want to trigger any racist comments, but he's Muslim and very religious. I respect that, and he really doesn't try to force anything onto me. It's just that one thing he'd like me to compromise on. I don't know. You dress however you dress. If he doesn't like it, he shouldn't date you. Do not stay with any guy who tries to control you like this. Get out and don't look back. He's not wonderful like you claim. He's one huge red flag. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. If you liked this story and you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate you spending your valuable time with me. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next Reddit story. In the meantime, please take care of yourself. Bye for now.